Good morning. We're glad you could join us again today for another edition of your breakfast talk show, TM. Of course, TM is an acronym for This Morning on TVC. Obviously, I'm not Yori Folarin. Yori Folarin is unavoidably absent, but my name is Femi Akonde. Thank you for joining us this morning. Well, not too young to run. It's a phrase that has become prominent lately in our socio-political space. We know that the Senate has passed a bill reducing the age of Nigerians that want to contest, Nigerians gone in for elective positions. Even just yesterday, Thursday, the House of Representatives also passed this bill. And it's really something that's been the topic of discourse around town. And I have here with me three gentlemen that would be discussing this topic today. From my right, I have Ayodeji Ogunjobi. He is the member of Lagos Youth Parliament.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And Dayo Israel. Dayo Israel is the country director of GLEAD Foundation. He's also a political affairs analyst, and he also aspired he also aspired for the position of chairman in Lagos mainland local government. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
And you'll be telling us about everything, how it went down, and of course why you're not the chairman today. And last but not the least, of course, is Ibrahim Owolabi. Ibrahim Owolabi is the founder of Involve Africa Project, and a very young man, I must say.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right, good morning and welcome to the show. Well, the Not Too Young to Run bill, it's been passed by the Senate and the House of Representatives, but it's not yet Uhuru, because we understand this bill must still go around states' houses of assembly before it becomes entrenched in the Nigerian constitution, and it must get the support of I think about 24. Yeah, 24 out of the 36 states house of assembly we have in the country. Not too young to run. Now, when this bill, of course, was passed by the Senate and the House of Representatives. Let me start with you, Ayodeji. How did it make you feel? What came to your mind? Because we know how the journey has been to get this bill. At some point it was even thrown out, but eventually it's been passed.
Oh well, it was a victory it's a victory for Nigeria and the youths in particular. Starting from when the campaign started, people voicing out, trying to get something on. Some thought it wasn't going to be possible. Some thought we were not going to get through it. But at the end of the day, it came out positive, and we see it as a victory for us and a step further for development of Nigeria. Dayo
Israel, what does this mean for the Nigerian youth? And the Nigerian youth, I mean the politically active, the politically conscious Nigerian youth. What does not too young to run? What does this bill mean for them?
Thank you so much, Mr. Akonde. It's very important to, like my brother said, to understand where we've come from. We've come from a dispensation over the years that we have been ruled by the same people that raised the motion for independence.
True.
The same generation has brought us thus far. And what you also realize that the same generation perpetuate themselves in power. And there's nothing wrong in, being in leadership even at a elderly age, because all of us will grow. But what we realize that because of the perpetuation, the energy and the vibrancy that young people bring into public office is being eroded, or it's being diminished, or it's being subjected to the gutters. Now, it takes a village to raise a child. The Africans will say, let me say this in Yoruba. The Yoruba will say, "Owo omode o to pepe, ti agbalagba no wo akeregbe." So if a child cannot climb a tree, the elder too cannot put their hand in a pot.
Wow.
It's not possible. So we need an infusion of the youthful energy and the wisdom of the old. Now, what you also realize is, look at the cabinet ministers we have in Nigeria today. Some of them have been in government and ministers even as far back as 1979. Now, look at the local government election in Lagos. A lot of young people came out to run.
And you were one of those?
I was one of them. We had the highest number of youth participation in local government election in Lagos State this year. And I can tell you the next election, there's going to be a huge turnout of younger people who are going to be prepared and ready to run. Now, the challenge is those of us who are in my generation, we are almost going out of our youthful age, because according to the law, 35 you stop being a youth. So when you stop being a youth, you get into that adult space. And then the scripture says the glory of the youth is in their strength. When do you have the chance to display the strength that you have and the energy? In countries all over the world, you see young people who are blazing the trail, who are refining. Look at Macron, for example, in France. Look at Trudeau in Canada. When can we make that happen? It's not because we don't have young people who have the capacity to change, but it's also because, number one, there was no enabling environment. What is those enabling environmental factors? Number one, the law inhibited the ability to run. So you find a young person who is vibrant, who has done so much for, like Suji Motors, who's run a business like Feladro Toye, or like Toyo Sakerele, or Bokno.
Daya, you know what? Let me let Ibrahim Ola be quickly weigh in on this now. Your organization, Involve Africa Project, you've had this direct interaction with youth. How interested would you say the youth are in the whole political process?
Okay, for us at Involve Africa, basically, the results of interactions with young persons indicates or is translating the fact that we're concerned about the governance process. It's no more new saying the generations in and out, ruling since independence is the one we're having now. So in an affirmative way, young persons, young people of Nigeria are really ready to come into the space. We don't want to be the everyday politician because we are not one. We're very concerned as young leaders about how we can transform this economy. The future of every society basically depends on the governance. And governance is functioned by political will. Building Mountain Rock is not a problem once the political will is set. So when we have young people who understand that there is a future, there is somewhere we're landing, then it's easier. And away from that, it's very illogical, we must start with that, to share with someone that you can vote, but you cannot be voted for. I am looking at it from the human rights imperative. It's ridiculous. The moment you can vote, it should be on you. It's franchise, ability to vote and be voted for. So we should not, but it happened now with, we're appreciative that the National Assembly, Senate and House of Representatives have passed the bill that you can now contest. So it's next to convince the state assemblies that there is a need for young people to run.
But did we need a bill to maybe encourage the youth to aspire?
I think people missed the point. The bill was not to encourage people to aspire. That's where I stopped. You have a lot of people who have a passion, the energy, the resources. They even have money to run election campaign. But if the age bracket, by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, does not allow them to run, everything else is wasted. So correct. Look at it, for example. Look at when I ran. Imagine I wanted to run 4 years ago, and I wasn't 30 yet. And I had the resources that we had to run this year. We had the exposure, we had the knowledge, we had the passion, we had the experience to run. But the law says that until you're 30, you cannot be a chairman.
Yes.
It means that everything else, you can't do it. So that is what the law has done, which is just one. First, it took away a barrier that limits a lot of young people from running. The Constitution currently, as of now, says that until you're 40 or 45, you cannot run for president. So what the law says is, we remove the age limitation. So if you think that you're qualified, you're okay, you have the resources and you have the energy and you can do the work, you can mobilize people to run for president at the age of 35, go ahead. Age will not be a barrier to actualizing this political dream. But that is not the end. So for example, our foundation has a program called Ready, Run, Win. What we're doing is that we're focusing on building the capacities of young people that want to run in election for and in public office. So, for example, we're looking at campaign financing, crowdfunding and fundraising for election. We're looking at empowering young people to be able to have political structure. Because it's one thing to have a bill, it's another thing to have a political structure to deliver the vote. If you look on election day, the reality of it is that, and that's why I'm concerned for a lot of the new political parties, because if you don't have the grassroots structure and agents to monitor your vote, no matter how much goodwill you have, you're leaving a space for rigging. These are factors that young people need to understand, and that's what we're trying to teach them.
Ayodeji, now with your involvement, of course, in the Lagos Youth Parliament now, this whole advocacy, this whole loud advocacy as we have it now of youth getting involved in governance, looking at the orientation out there, would you say youth are ripe for it? Apart from maybe the some educated ones, as you want to call them, are people really ready for it? Do we have the numbers?
Yes, I would say people are ready for it. Someone right here is a typical example.
A handful.
Is a typical example.
We've had like he also said, we've had young people who are successful in business and in other endeavors, but in Nigeria's political life, it's really very hard for a youth to break in.
This will bring about the change we've been waiting for. This will bring about the encouragement we've been waiting for. Just for people to get that, like you said earlier, it will bring about a certain level of awareness and redirect people's thoughts towards politics and governance, to say. Now, the question, like you've asked, is, are we going to get the right set of people? Are we going to get the right amount of people? Yes, we will. All we need is people like him, people like Fela Durotoye, like he said, to motivate the others, to encourage the others to go into governance. It's not about, let's take it up this way. Let's take out the politics from the governance, from good governance. Let's get people into governance. We don't necessarily have to get someone as a governor, but you get someone as a commissioner. You get 2 or 3 people as commissioners. You get a few people as councillors, as local government chairmen. Maybe 1 or 2 as ministers in future, then we're good. That's the new beginning. That's what we're looking for.
But then that's where we are now. I want to allude to, to add to what you're saying. That's the challenge. That's where we are now, because we had a generation where they say to young people, you're good, you're smart, but come and be an SA, come and be a PA. And then the reality is that when you look at those who are in the House of Assembly or in the House of Rep, and they have vibrant guys on their team as their SA, most of the time SA social media. The guy would draft the bill, but they don't think that those guys are strong enough to actually become an honorable member. No, that has to change.
And 86 senators voted in support of this bill. And it's one bill that I would say is quite popular because it started from tweets before it hit the streets, and then we saw protests and everything, and then the motion went to the floor of the National Assembly, the Senate, and then the House of Assembly. But from tweets, those tweets were that of, I would say, social media influencers, some certain people that were able to drive traffic, and that were able to, maybe through their tweets, their comments and everything, were able to influence the decision of these lawmakers. That's why I'm asking, is it what the generality, is it what the whole bunch of youth, a larger percentage of youth are talking about? Because if you go to the streets and you interact with some young people, some people are talking about jobs, some of them are talking about my next meal. Some of them have different. Some of them have. They have also placed their priorities, and for them it might not be that I'm not too young to run bill. That it's that we all agree with me today.
That the bill did not emanate from Twitter.
Yes.
I know. So for example, there had been a lot of consultative forums across Nigeria. There have been NGO retweets from Twitter.
Yes.
I know. So for example, there had been a lot of consultative forums across Nigeria. There have been NGO retreats, there have been NGO workshops. You can never find a single cause that the totality of Nigerians, push for. Some people, their priority is NEPA. Some people, their priority is good roads.
True.
Some people, their priority is being able to pay for school fees. But we have to look at what is the fundamental issue. Everything rises and falls on leadership. If you don't have the right quality of people in public service and in place of authority to influence, look at how bright Ibrahim is. He's been in the youth parliament. He runs a lot of projects. He's trained by Toastmasters. This young man can be in the House of Assembly, you know, pushing bills and motions and creating with all the energy he has, you know, and in his 20s, to be able to push stuff for young people. The people in his age mate who are House of Assembly members and congressmen in the USA who just happen to have exposure, and they were supported. So look at the Sankaras, the Patrice Lumumbas. They were young. They were even younger than myself when they were pushing for emancipation and renaissance of Africa. So what happened?
We have the bill now.
I think I have something to say about that.
Go ahead.
You see, the Not Too Young to Run bill is practically talking about access.
Access.
Nothing else. It's saying open the space for young people to come in. But beyond the bill is capacity and engagement. Some persons will not run because all of us cannot be in the space.
Definitely.
In a class of 100, everyone cannot be a first-class candidate. It just means that we cannot all say we're running. But those that are not running, we have sound policies to engage them. So that next time, you will not only be thinking about NEPA and then jobs, you also think about the political will that will provide jobs. Because it's the mandate of the government to provide you a job as a citizen through systems and structures. So,
okay, let's look at the political space now as we have it in Nigeria. Look at how political parties are structured. Of course, you say you want access. Yeah, you get the access. You go and pick up your forms. You go and pick up the forms, of course, declaring your intention to run for a particular office. Okay. But beyond that, the political party takes your money. Yes, like every other person.
That's why
you buy the form, for instance, to run for the seat of a governor. You buy the form. You are allowed to do your campaigns and everything. But there are still so many hindrances there. Look at how monetized Nigeria's politics have become. Most youth might not, you might have the brightest ideas and everything, but you may not be able to break through. So don't you think beyond having this bill and getting that access, the whole political orientation, the structure of political parties would also have to change or bend?
Let me talk from experience. Okay. You've said it all. I came from a background where I'd worked in the UN, I've worked to Save the Children, I've worked in the British Council, UNICEF Nigeria, far back as 2001. My first job was UNICEF Nigeria in 1999-2000, Global for Children campaign. And then we've had different experience. I was a one-day commissioner in Lagos, I was in the Children's Parliament, you know, spoken at the UN for young people, and then I decided to run with a master's in international relations, first degree in law. And then I get into a political party, get into a community, and then at the end of the day, even spent a lot, did a lot of advocacy, did not emerge a candidate. That's the reality of the politics that we have today. But the point is, like Ibrahim said, the Not Too Young to Run bill is first to open the space. Now, as the space begins to open, we now begin to talk about structures. Yeah. We begin to talk about systems. Not all of us can run. Not all of us should run. But then the other part of us are now sitting down and saying, how do we begin to set up independent agents who are, for example, we now have independent candidacy. So can we set up a consortium of independent agents that independent candidates can actually subscribe to and say, come on, you know, we need agents, I'm running for this and I need agents, 5,000 agents, 10,000 agents who can work with us to help us monitor our votes. Can we have a team who can work on community mobilization, grassroots mobilization? That is happening. That's what I said our foundation is doing, to train young people on actually even researching party ideologies and policies before you get involved in a political party.
But maybe we should not forget, you see, when we talk about party ideologies, the system we run here is really not ideologically driven. So we have parties and all of that. But for some persons who are ideologically driven, just build your ideology on your own and independently run. Independent candidacy might not translate for presidency because of the volume and the number of votes you need to gather. For governor too, but at the local levels, you will see it come to reality. Some persons can win election within their wards without any party.
Yes, absolutely.
So those persons, we must push them as long as they're ready to deliver social progress.
Okay,
and over time.
Okay, Dayo, you had a first-hand experience, I must say. running or attempting or aspiring to be the chairman of Lagos.
Actually
Mainland.
running.
Yeah, running.
I bought form.
Yeah, you bought form, but I think you dropped out at the primary stage.
I didn't drop out.
What happened?
I just, there was a consensus candidacy, and so somebody was picked by the party.
Okay, then those are some of the challenges that we're talking about now. For a young person who, of course, does not control that political structure, would you say that the way it is now, you were, should I say, strangulated out of the race? And what are some of those challenges you would say that young people would still face and would still have to contend with?
Yes, it's true that the system does not create an encouragement for young people. But that's why I also always advise a lot of young people now to start early. Start building yourself, building your career, building your community very early. I was on my way here today and somebody sent me a text from my local government and said, you know, we're so proud of you. Now we now know your value and your quality. It's funny, yeah, some of these guys were fighting me during the election, young people of your age, because actually it's the youth that fight the youth. And, you know, they now come and say, you know, we actually have preferred you because we could have had more access to you. So first we need to deal with that competition in our generation. Then we need to see how we can also form ourselves into a formidable team and forces politically. There are 45 political parties in Nigeria. You can fly on anyone. Viva Rhodes in Ikeja, Gbadebo Viva Rhodes, ran on the platform of Kowa Party. He moved the community, of course. There are a few structural things that could have been done better, and also because of the political climate of Nigeria. But, you know, things are changing. It will change as we begin to do our different parts, begin to pull our community structure. And I said to all young people who came out this time and didn't get in, it's a first try. It's not failure. You know, you've learned a lot from that process. Now you know what to avoid, what not to do. And what is more important is that we can help the others who are coming behind us to make wiser decisions and strategies and the pitfall to avoid. And money is an important factor in election. Because of the poverty system in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, somebody came to me in an election and said, before me I vote, I'm not, you know, you're not talking about party to vote for. Before I come out of my house to go and vote, you must buy me an naira recharge card. It's that bad in the grassroots. So, but like Ololabi said, if you start from the grassroots, it's easier to even win as an independent candidate, but you also must begin to become influential. So you run an NGO, you build public school in Makoko, you do a lot of stuff. You need to begin to gain political capital from that and begin to actually make that relevant to the community that you live in. Ololabi is doing all these things all over the TV or in his community holding conferences. What I'm saying to him is, Ololabi, you're not too young to be in the House of Assembly in 2019. But the point is, you must now know how to transmit and transfer that political, the goodwill from civil society into political capital.
But that, I would say, is a challenge because, you know, from the civil society, we've seen people that with NGOs, they even organize themselves, they go and do some community work so that they try to connect with the people in that community. But when it comes to standing or running for office, it's a different ballgame.
It's the mindset that needs to change.
So how do we change the mindset? Ayodeji, let me let you weigh in on that. How do you change the mindset? Because it's like, oh yes, we know you've done community work. We appreciate. We've thanked you for that. But this is a different ballgame. Let the money bags come in.
Basically, it's a learning process. Like I said, it's accessibility, which is what we're getting now. From there, we make mistakes and we learn.
So how would the mindset change?
The mindset will change from people starting to run. Once we start running, once we start making attempts to run, he must have learned a lot. A lot of other people must have learned a lot. The next one, they get to know what to do rightly, they know what steps to take, and they know the right people to approach. Those three things are key. They know where to source for funds as well to run.
How about acceptability? You can run, but how do you make yourself acceptable that people will believe that people will see
you just have to learn it.
Have in you?
You just have to learn it.
Add to the community.
I'm actually speaking this afternoon right from here at an event at a hotel, building bankable brand. But I'm speaking of building votable brand. You know, so that talks about your acceptability. And what do we mean by votable brands? If people don't see you as a chairman, they won't vote you as a chairman.
Right.
So it's a perception thing. It's an image thing. And you need to consciously create the image that you want them to see you. So when I first came out to my local government, they looked at me as a small boy, a young boy, because they're used to the people, octogenarians and the septuagenarians becoming being chairman. So they look at you and say, oh, Shelobe, the councillor. And I just smiled. But over time, with the tenacity that we exhibited during the election, people were able to see that actually we have the capacity to actually be more than even a chairman. So what am I trying to say? There has to be conscious effort by these young people who are aspiring to also begin to position themselves and building their brand. I said to people, when Muhammadu Buhari came to run in 2015, people did not see him as electable. They saw him as a tyrant, a coupist, a military dictator. But he had to take the effort of the All Progressive Congress to rebrand his image and present him as really somebody that is votable. That is what we need to do for young people who want to run in office. And then they must remember that if you want to run, for example, in 2019, you don't come out in September 2018. You come out in August 2017 or 16. That is when the work starts. Because the mistake that people make is that 2 weeks to election, 1 month, 6 months, they do poster and say, no, I'm going to win. People know, people love me. No, I spent a full year plus every day, 9 to 5, resuming on election campaign, closing late in the night. Every day ahead of primaries. We ran general election campaign pre-primaries. And that's what young people need to begin to be aware of. Money is also an important factor. Sure. Build yourself as an economic powerhouse. Getting political power will be nothing.
Do you agree with that? Build yourself as an economic powerhouse. What if you don't have that a strong capital base that would, because one way or the other it's still about money. Sure. If you must do some community work to make yourself acceptable in the locality, you still have to spend money, resources. It doesn't matter. As it is now, people don't really care what value you're bringing to their community when you get elected, because they see it as it's during campaign that we get what we can get from these people. That's the opportunity to grab what you can from them, because 4 years while they are in office, you don't see them. Again. They are far away and detached. So how do we change that?
I totally would agree with your viewpoint. It's a real sentiment. Two things are here: political apathy and political money issues and all of that. Political apathy, we don't see politics as a means to governance. We just, oh, they are come again, it's their time, let them just do it, it's their thing. Last election, the local council election, people were not coming out to vote. Check the results. This is not the Lagos we've known for many years. Under the sun and in the rain, we naturally would do our Lagos thing. But it wasn't like that for the elections. With respect to economic power, it's very important. We must, for persons who want to run, because you must build your financial base. Elections all over the world is expensive because you need to buy that, particularly when you're running under some parties where the form to contest, getting the form, the charge for the form alone it's very exorbitant, annoying. So you need to build a economic base for yourself. And away from that, if you do not build an economic base with an economic power, it means you'll be funded. And if you're funded by someone, there are chances that you will dance to the tune of that person.
Special interests.
Exactly. So at that level, you are not serving the people, you're serving the master. Because he who pays the piper dictates the tune.
All right then. Well, at this point, we'll go on a quick break. And when we return, we'll continue with our conversation on the Not Too Young to Run bill. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching This Morning, and we're talking about the Not Too Young to Run bill. Well, the momentum for this bill is still, I would say, it's still rising. We even saw the Senate President holding a placard, "I support the Not Too Young to Run bill." And for those on social media, it's with the hashtag Not Too Young to Run. And I also have young people with me here in the studio, and of course, one of them actually ran. All right, then let's look at Nigeria's political space. Before even this bill, we've had young people running for office. Some of them also won elections. Some of them also, they were elected. They were elected, but let's look at how well have they fared.
Number one, young people running has been transgenerational. at the age of 31, Bode Thomas, the famous Bode Thomas in Surulere, was the federal minister of, I think, transportation.
Yeah, that's correct.
At the age of 31. What changed?
How many years ago?
This was about 40, 50 years ago. So that's one. So we had Chief Rashid Badamosi was commissioner in Lagos State at the age of 27. Sure. We had Patutomi, you understand. But in recent time, we have Makokoye, for example, in Abia State, who is the commissioner, I think, for budget and economic planning.
But these are appointed political
okay, yes.
officers.
So Makokoye, for example, is appointed. So we have, for example, in Lagos, we have two young people in Lagos, in particular, my friend in Ikeja, Damola Kasumo.
That's in the House of Assembly.
In the House of Assembly, was elected there. We have Folajimi also in the House of Assembly. But you know, that's another conversation for another day. Because a lot of people have raised their concerns that this young to run bill, are we sure that it's not going to be a machinery for the elite to bring their children into public service? Because if you look at the two we've mentioned, Folajimi, for example, is the son of a leader in the All Progressive Congress, and my very good friend Damola is also a relative of the national leader of the All Progressive Congress. But I believe that, you know, that's just a minute out of the many young people that have. There's a gentleman who is not from the from that kind of background, from a Festa Kamu area, who is the only PDP member in the Lagos House of Assembly. He's also relatively young, and these guys are vibrant in what they're doing. You
know, some people have said jocularly that growing up, they were told that they are the leaders of tomorrow, and their tomorrow is today. They are not yet leaders. They still have those same people that have been telling them that you are the leaders of tomorrow, still leading them today. I know under the military, we've had young military officers, even General Yakubu Gowon became the president, I think, while he was 30 or in his 30s. 32. We've had young military officers like in Kaduna State, the old Kaduna State, we had a young colonel become governor there. So it's at that time, and even the examples you cited, that was then, over 30 years ago. What's changed that has increasingly made it difficult for young people to thrive in the political space?
I'll let Ibrahim say something to that before I comment.
I think for me, the challenge is basically hinged on the fact that there is a constitutional restriction. No matter how brilliant you are, how financially capable you want to run for an election, and how ready you are. The law of the country is saying it is until you are 40, you cannot contest as president.
Okay, hold your thoughts. We have Mark Konjuola from Badagry. He's called in to contribute to our discussion today. Good morning, Mark Konjuola. Good morning, Mark Konjuola. Oh, I don't think Mark Konjuola is ready to contribute.
Okay, so there is a constitutional restriction that says you cannot do this. Hence the need and the appreciation of the Not Too Young to Run bill, which is now opening the space. And with respect to saying the elites are bringing in their children and their family members, for me, this is not about this is not about poor or rich. It's about young people. That's it. In every society, there are two classes. It's everywhere around the world. But the Not Too Young to Run campaign is about young people, either rich or poor, ensuring that we're part of the governance process.
No, I think I would have missed that point. So what they're raising concern about is that really, okay, so we're doing this event in September, and we have a panel titled, Not Too Young, but Too Broke to Run.
Oh,
so the reality is this.
And that's the reality.
You know, you have a law that now opens the space. As a matter of fact, some people specifically said that what you see is that a possibility for the Senate President, whose son just graduated from the UK, to now bring his son into Kwara State House of Assembly, and because the law that how many people can face him or his son to get in there. That would the bill really empower the ordinary young people who do not have the financial capacity to run.
Okay.
So it's also a reality, but it is important to know that the bill has opened the space. We must now begin to prepare ourselves. If we wanted to run in a local council, for example.
Please hold on. As the bill opens the space, we would also like to open the space for George from Ikeja. Good morning, George. Good morning, George. It appears we're having a little challenge with network today. Well, let me
Yeah.
Let me let you
So,
continue.
so it's actually about, are the young people not too broke to run? You know, do they have the finances to actually do it? But it's also possible. If you're running, for example, for a counselor in a community, you know, where you have been doing stuff, you've been teaching children, you've been helping elderly, they know you to be a very responsible young man. Everybody supports you.
Okay, I think George is still on the line. Good morning, George.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning. Good morning, George.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go on.
Okay. Please permit me to differ on this subject of political governance in relation to age. The problem with our political governance is not about age, it's about character.
Yeah.
Why am I saying that? I was very surprised when I saw our youth gathering at the National Assembly to protest that they want the age of political office holders to be lowered. These same youths have been seeing the shenanigans going on in the National Assembly. They look at the laws that they are passing that are not favorable to the people. They look at all the things they are doing to frustrate the corruption war. That did not worry them. What I saw them doing is give us our own opportunity to have our share of the cake. They are not concerned with the problem that those who are there now are causing. For example, in the Senate, there are some people who are in their early 40s. Senator Dino Melai is about 42 or so.
43.
Senator Nyako, I don't think he's even up to 40. The governor of Kogi State is
In his 40s.
About 40 years old. We are not seeing any difference between what those younger people do and the older ones. That goes to tell me that it is character that we need, not the age. The three young men that are sitting there, I want them to convince anyone that when they get to the point of governance, there will be no more corruption. There will be no more ethnicity. There will be no more favoritism. Just because it is young people that are there. I don't agree with that because it's not the issue.
All right, Mr. George, your point is
Let us
noted.
concentrate on what matters and not what, not about age. Our problem is not age. Our problem is character.
Character.
Thank you.
Ayodeji, let me let you talk about that character, and let me just say something. We have this trend now. Every young person wants to be successful, successful not through sweat and hard work. Now through the back door, everyone wants to make money. Everyone wants to drive the most expensive car, wear expensive wristwatches. Yeah. That is what our young people, that's what the youths are preoccupied with today. So it's that character that he is talking about. That is why maybe that's, as he's saying, that they are struggling for their own share of the national cake. Let me get there and take for myself. And so what would you say to that?
Okay, which is what I was saying earlier. There's a political side, and then there's the governance.
Yeah.
Now that what he's talking about, the character part is good governance. Are we going to get the right things done? That is where we need to learn those things. Now they've given us the chance to learn these things, to giving us the chance to try and be involved. We get involved, we start learning, we start knowing what to do. But the truth is quite right to an extent. The same youths are the same ones stopping or helping or aiding what the older ones are doing negatively, so to say. We've seen a lot of things out there. We haven't said anything. This bill is a step in the right direction to say we can see the unification, we can see the oneness among the youths. But now, translating to good things coming from it, are we going to get that? Which is what you were trying to ask earlier. Yes, we will. Yes, we can, and yes, we will.
Okay. Babatunde from Okwebi, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning, Dio. Good morning, Olavi. Good morning, how are you guys? Yeah, I think The thing that I need to add up is the item that we use needs to come out. Daya has done a very, very tremendous job in Lagos mainland, which every youth on that part can testify to.
Yep.
So my point is, if this bill is being passed now, we're saying about the elite children, definitely they have enough cash at hand to run.
Sure.
So does this bill support people that don't have up to them, but have what it takes to run for any office that they want to go for? 2, does this bill give room for the young ones not to pay for the form like Dayo was a victim of it? Because definitely I'm quite sure that I bought the form while I contested for the chairmanship.
550,000.
At the end of the day, it was not paid. But if this bill has been passed before now, I think it's something that they should give room for. Okay, every youth that are coming on board, once they've checked their criteria, then once they meet up the criteria, then they should not purchase the form like the elite one. So I think the problem we are still having in this country is still the elite ones, because they have the money, they are the big guns. So I just want to say kudos to the organizer of Not Too Young to Run. Kudos to the panelists you have there. I just want to say God bless Nigeria. Have a good day.
All right, thank you. Well, like he's saying, as we clamor for gender equality, a 50-50 share for both women and men, he is also talking about the youths. Should they be given preferential treatment in terms of maybe the purchase of forms? Should there be incentives?
Let me quickly interject or intervene on this. Number one, George question. In 2010, when Jonathan was vice president and we needed him to become acting president, and the cabal held the country at the jugular, he was young people led by Dele Momodu, a lot of Nollywood actors, my friend Chude Jideonwo. Many of us went on the street and protested that things must happen, which led the Senate to push in the doctrine of necessity.
Yes.
In 2012, when Jonathan wanted to bring up the fuel subsidy, it was we young people that went to Ojota
and then
to go and protest.
They're spearheaded by some political activists who are not youth and who brought music, what young people like to Ojota. Then we have a caller from Jos. Good morning, welcome to the show.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. We can hear you.
Good morning to you all.
All right, good morning.
I'm Ishakawa Imam calling from Jos.
All right, welcome.
I want to appreciate our legislature for amending the age participation of youth in the elected position. And I think that is a welcome development, but it's not whom yet until it is supported by 24 state assemblies, 24 state assemblies. I still want to suggest that youth should be given an incentive. In a political party, you expect youth that people claim they are inexperienced, they don't have working experience to manage the affairs of the country. I want to suggest that if it takes an older person to get forms in a political party for 5 million naira, I want to suggest youth should get those forms for free. These are the easy way for youth to get to the elected position. Otherwise, if the age is reduced and you expect youth to participate in elected position and you still expect them to pay for the same amount that these people, the older people, will pay. I think this is another marginalization.
Okay, so
and I still want to suggest that limitation, people that are above 70 years should be barred from participating in elected position in the country, because they will still manipulate, and this and it allows you to participate.
All right. Thank you very much.
For making that move.
All right. Thank you very much. He's saying as we have not too young to run, we should also have too old to run.
Okay, so let me quickly say.
All right, quickly.
So also recently we saw at TBS Stadium with AIE Yemi Adamolekun. It was the same young people that came out to push. So it's not just because we are looking for not too young to run that we went to put out the Senate. Yeah. It's the same young people who have always agitated, even on social media, for the right things to be done. So you don't, it's wrong or it's unfair to think that we are saying, oh, give us a chance so that we can get in there to do stuff. No. Also, there's very little that you can do when you're on the outside. But when you get inside, all the passions you have, you can actually make the change that you want to see. So young people are saying, give us a chance, let us be able to run. And when we get in, maybe we've seen National Assembly, and they look at the National Assembly and feel that, you know what, these guys are not having the best interest for us. Let the best of us also be able to come in. But they're shutting us out because of our age restriction.
Okay, let me say something now. Some people at what point would you say youth should begin to learn political governance, leadership values? We don't have these in our schools. So that is why it's not in all schools.
Have you seen North Korea and China? They have an intentional effort to groom their children, North Korea in particular, from childhood, from nursery too. They are teaching their children that America is the enemy.
But we don't have that in Nigeria.
So that shouldn't
we now begin to channel our campaign and advocacy towards strengthening our education? I will let you both weigh in on that. But first, Arafat from Kaduna, good morning.
Good morning. The members of your panel there and all of you there. Good morning.
Good morning.
The passing of the amendment of those acts is a welcome development. But I still go with the second to the last caller, in which I was thinking the panelists could have addressed the issue of character. You see, the potential candidate there has mentioned the issue of you have to develop yourself financially, which is very true. And it has shown he has some experience in the Nigerian politics. The very unfortunate thing that he even mentioned that somebody told him, you have to buy a scratch card for me before I vote for you. Now it has proven that our electoral process has been so engulfed with the issue of money that there is no how, if you don't have money, you can win the election in Nigeria, the way things are. And if either you are being sponsored by the old folks, or you being a youth, that you have money. And where can you get the money? Most of our sources of funding of money today is through government, the way things are. And the unfortunate thing is the common man in Nigeria believes in he can only vote when he's being paid for. You understand? The orientation has to change. And the way things are, and from the insinuations that there might be a recycling, the old class might bring their own kit on board because they have the capacity and they control the party. You understand?
All right,
one of your panelists is a victim of that because he has all the grassroots support, but unfortunately he was not an anointed candidate and he was forced to step down. Right. So now the issue is definitely we are creating another opportunity for the recyclement of the young folks from those old cycles that we have been blaming that have taken charge of the country.
Okay, Arafat.
They will bring back over the politics.
All right. Thank you very much, Arafat. Now we're talking about the educational system. Now, don't you think we should have a system that will imbue in people from a very young age leadership values?
Sorry, same thing. It goes along with what he said. I'll get to the point. This
so that we're prepared.
Yes, this bill is not. It's not that by the next elections Nigeria will be developed or will be in a better place.
The benefits of this bill is
we still have years
way to go.
But it's a good step. It's a stepping stone for us. Yeah. That's how I see it. Yeah. So by the time, let's say, he gets into a position now, and then obviously the people he will surround himself with will be young people like him. And obviously a few older ones to guide him through. At that rate, we start getting more young people involved in the circle, in governance and in politics. This will take a few years to come, and then we achieve what we get, what we want. And that now takes us back to the educational system. We know what the problems are. They don't see it from our angle. Maybe back then when they were in school, they saw the whole social studies, they saw They were taught. They were actually taught by the British, most of them. But now it's a bit different. What we learn is quite different from what they learned back then.
Okay, hold on, please. Hold your thought. Okorafo from Arochukwu.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Femi. I guess to the student from Red Line, Patrick Okoro from Arochukwu in Abia State.
Welcome.
Honestly, if you leave me, I'll say that he's too young to run. I'll turn the beat to be cast as young. This is the turn of Nigerian youth to sit up, stop radicalism, stop criminality of any form, and take over the government from the elders. That attitudinal change is one of the major factors that we are facing with our youth. What our three guests say have said that it's a way going to do. Now, if you go back home and talk to the youth that it is now their turn to sit up and make sure that they no longer allow the elite to use them as political talks and to do any form of criminality. If they keep that. Now, look at what is happening in France. What is the guy? He's a young man and he's moving forward. You come down to when Obama took over, what was people was a small boy. Now, it is not the youth of the turn of the youth to sit up and take over from the elders. Thank you very much, President.
All right, thank you. Let me let you talk. But first, I need to say, if you even look at our political parties, they have youth leaders. I've seen a youth leader that is in his 50s. You see a youth leader that is in his late 40s, and then you wonder, why are they called youth leaders?
That's one place I'm going to celebrate the All Progressive Congress. The national youth leader of the party and the state youth leader in Lagos State are vibrant and fantastic young people who are actually thinking we have the capacity to become presidents and governors respectively in their various states. And that is also what we need to begin to do across all political parties.
Okay, and then let's go back to our educational system.
I need to first talk about this party form issue.
Okay.
Number one, these guys who have the political power, they have the one that finance the party structure.
Quickly.
Yeah. They finance the system. Now, you now want them to lower the money for you. So, Ryan was telling me the women don't pay for form. That's why many of them don't end up emerging, with all due respect. Because they look at the women and then think that they don't have the financial power to do what needs to be done. If you begin to, but when you say, you know, the form is 1 million naira, we'll put the money down. You now have the respect of the leaders to be able to speak at a level
playing ground.
Yeah. That if they spend 10 naira, we'll spend the same 20 naira.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Olabi, quickly.
I think my concern more is about character, which one of the speakers talked about. And, you know, the value system in the country Nigeria is nowhere to be found again. So we're not reminding people from the family units that this nation is our nation. We must defend, protect it. So we must find a ways through education to infuse,
our time is fast spent,
to infuse character learning and personality development into what we learn at school.
All right, thank you very much. Ayodeji, quickly, 10 seconds, your final remarks on this topic, not too young to run.
We thank the government we thank the House for this, but at the same time, I would implore the youths that we use this wisely.
Okay, but you know you've still got work to do. It's just been passed by the Senate and the House of Rep. 36 states will still have to. 36 state House of Assembly will still have to sit. So there's still more work on this not too young to run bill. So how would you feel? Let's say eventually, I'm not being pessimistic here. It goes through 36 states, and some people in other states just feel that the time is not ripe yet. It's actually not going to work that way. We're very confident as young people that 24 state House of Assemblies will support this bill. All right, on that level of optimism, we'll draw the curtains for the show today. Yori Folarin will be back on Monday on this very program. Keep a date with us. And thank you very much for watching the show, and thank you, gentlemen, for coming here. And it's been, I must say, a very interesting conversation this morning. Thank you, and keep watching TVC News. My name is Femi Akonde.